Welcome to Holistic Health is Hot, where your journey to sculpting your dream body meets holistic health. I'm your host, Ashley Roberts. Here, we're going to chat about mindset hacks that have completely transformed my life and dive deep into nutrition and movement that will help transform yours. We're going to get into the intense connection between mind, body, and soul so you can glow from the inside out. Let's get into it. And remember, holistic health is hot. Welcome back to another episode of Holistic Health is Hot. Man, this is a very fun episode for me because I think diving into intuitive eating is kind of a buzzword, honestly, and I'm excited to kind of debunk it and honestly tell you why you shouldn't use this for fat loss or losing weight, toning up. Unfortunately, intuitive eating is not the vibe for that. So we're going to get into all of the things, kind of talking about diet culture, how you can use intuitive eating depending on where you're at in your journey. Because at the end of the day, intuitive eating is the end goal, but it's just not going to get you to your goal in a timely manner. And I know a lot of you high achieving gals really have high goals for yourself. And so I'm excited to kind of get into this whole episode. But before we get started, I'm going to do a little life update. So, and if you don't care about this, you can definitely fast forward. I'm not offended. But so this last weekend was so fun. Eric and I went to the coast and we just kind of like took pictures, walked Luna, the sun was shining. I don't think I realized how much the lack of sun has been affecting me because it feels absolutely amazing to see the sun and have the sun on my face. And but I enjoyed my last relaxing weekend. Also, we celebrated Eric's birthday with my family. So, but still, it was super chill. Had some pizza. My mom made the best chocolate cake ever. I binged on it. And speaking of intuitive eating, I ate so much of it, and it was worth it because it was so good. But I don't feel that great, honestly. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to starve myself. I'm not going to just, try to work out to work everything off. That's not what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go back to eating balanced and healthy like I typically do. And yeah, I'm a little bit more bloated, but it's not the end of the world. And just knowing that it's temporary if I go back to eating exactly how I was before. So, yeah, so that was nice, but now I have lots of craziness coming up these next 4 weeks. So I pretty much have a trip every single weekend. So this weekend, I'm going to Arizona for a 100th birthday for my great aunt Toddy. That will be fun just to see her. I haven't seen her in so long, see some of my fam. And then I come back for 2 days, and then I leave for Colorado to visit my sister. And then I come back for 2 days, and then I leave for Hawaii for 2 weeks. So I'm going to be working like the first half while I'm in Hawaii just because we're going for 2 weeks and I'm not going to take 2 weeks off. Probably still be working, somewhat through all of these trips too. So I'm excited though to just go out in the world, especially too this weekend. I think it's supposed to rain here in Sonoma County in Arizona. It's going to be like 80 degrees. I'm like, fire me the fuck up. I'm so hyped for that. But yeah, so I've also decided to, I'm taking the month off of March of not drinking. So I'm excited to be traveling and not drinking because I always feel very exhausted when I come back from traveling. And there is, of course, the bit of, just traveling in general, not sleeping in your own bed, being out of your routines. But I'm really going to try to just be as consistent as possible with my routines. I want to focus on movement. I want to focus on eating healthy. I want to focus on making sure I'm getting enough water and everything like that, just because I want to feel good throughout this whole month of travel and not make it like it's vacation, game on, eat whatever I want, drink as much as I want kind of a thing. I'm tired of feeling like crap when I travel. So I'm going to stay as consistent as possible. Also, I'm going to probably YouTube and vlog everything, so that will be fun. I mentioned this in my last podcast episode, but I'm going to become a vlogger. For so long, I have felt very drawn to YouTube, and I'm excited to start this up. I actually put my first YouTube video out so those are going to come out every Monday. I'm setting a hard stop for myself because now that I have consistently been podcasting, I have built up that trust with myself that, I can stay consistent with long form content. I can, stay consistent with what I want to accomplish. And so my podcast was just something that has really built up confidence in myself. So now I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going to do this. Like, I don't care what people say in the industry that, you shouldn't start doing long form content until you have a following. And it's like, no, I'm a long form content girly. I could talk for hours and hours about health, fitness, mindset, body image, all of the things. So that's what we're doing. Lastly, what I'm going to talk about, and before we get into the episode, is Elevate, my one-to-one coaching program. Okay, look, I know you are probably one of those people who gets very discouraged if you're not seeing instant results, and I totally understand that, especially too, kind of thinking about, YouTube. I started YouTube a long time ago, gave up because I wasn't seeing this instant results, and I've recently had this, this epiphany of like, it's not going to happen overnight. I am not going to give up on my dream because I'm not getting that instant gratification. It's not happening overnight. I need to keep pushing through. And that's exactly what you need to do. You are one of those people who probably goes to the gym, works out, and, probably eats decently healthy, but you're just not seeing the results that you want to. You're not seeing that instant gratification. And that's why Elevate is for you, because I am one of those coaches that is going to not tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. And staying consistent is the thing that's going to get you there. And that's what I'm there to do, as well as we'll dive into, of course, the basics of nutrition. Of course, you're going to get your custom nutrition and workout plan, but you're also going to get me, who is going to push you past the limits you'd be able to get to on your own. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. I'm going to push you forward. I'm going to motivate you. I'm going to hold you accountable. And this is truly what I feel like I was put on this earth to do, is motivate you, activate you, excite you, get you excited about health and fitness and being a healthy girly, because it is fun and amazing, and focusing on the mindset side of things it's fucking amazing and life-changing. And I want you to feel like your most confident, best self, because I know how it feels not to. And life is too fucking short to be self-conscious and not stepping into your power and becoming this big, amazing version of yourself and having your dream body, living your dream life. Life is too fucking short not to have that, okay? So join Elevate, my one-to-one coaching program, where we will get you to your goals. You're going to glow the fuck up in 6 months of working together, okay? So if you want to apply to my one-to-one coaching program, I have limited spots, so make sure you're applying ASAP, okay? The application is in the description below, or DM me on Instagram if you want to have a little chit chat before, see if you'd be a good fit, and we can go from there. All right. But now let's get into the episode. All right. We're going to start off by talking about what even is intuitive eating, because I feel like it is a big buzzword in the health and fitness space of like, oh, just intuitive eat, listen to your body. And I feel like when I first got into the health and fitness space and they told me to intuitive eat, I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I am craving a whole fucking box of cookies. Am I supposed to go eat that because my body is craving that? And so I felt really frustrated with intuitive eating at first, because I was like, I just don't understand what that means. I don't trust my body, especially for me. I feel like I was in such a negative headspace about my body and about food that like I didn't know how to listen to my body. I didn't know how to just eat intuitively. So I felt really frustrated. But essentially what intuitive eating is just listening to your hunger and fullness cues. Again, eating when you're hungry, stopping when you're full, eating what you want when you want, listening to your cravings. And again, I'm not saying intuitive eating is bad, because I think it is an amazing piece of your journey. And that's typically, I eat intuitively, but I'm at a place where I'm okay. I know what my body looks. I'm at a place where I'm obsessed with my body. And even if some weeks or days or months I am bloated or not eating the best, I still kind of bounce back super quickly because of all the work I've done on the front end to make sure my metabolism is on point, healing my hormones. I'm in the process of my gut health journey, but I've done the beforehand work to get me to a place to intuitive eat. It wasn't always like that. And I think where people go wrong is they think they just need to eat whatever they want and listen to their body. But it's hard to listen to your body when you don't trust your body after years of trying a million diets and years of, trying to eat the way another influencer eats. And so it's hard to just straight up intuitive eat. So again, intuitive eating is the end goal, but we're going to get into why I think you shouldn't use it for fat loss after we kind of go through what intuitive eating is. Okay, so now I really want to just start off by talking about diet culture, because diet culture has a huge impact on how we eat. I kind of think back to, I don't even know if it's like the 80s or 90s or whatever, but there was a period of time where everyone was like, fat is bad for you. Fat makes you fat. And so everything was fat free. Like, oh my gosh, like eat this fat free thing. It's going to be great. You're not going to be fat. Oh my God, I'm sorry. But they're like, you're not going to get fat if you just eat this fat free stuff. And it's like, okay, that's not the vibe either, because when they take out the fat, I think they replace it with like sugar or something like that. So they may have removed the fat, but they replace it with hella sugar. So anyways, that was like the craze for a while. And then after that, it was kind of like low carb. You don't want to eat any carbs. Like carbs are going to make you fat. Carbs are going to do this. And so that was kind of like the next phase of diet culture, was like, don't eat carbs. Carbs make you fat. And so we have so many thoughts, feelings, beliefs about food in general that really just impact our view of food, our view of our body, a view of how we're supposed to be eating. And so diet culture plays a huge role, as well as we all have these thoughts, feelings, and emotions from past experiences, maybe how our parents showed up. I know how our parents, showed up and how they ate and how they looked at food. And so that also has impacted us a lot. Not that they did it intentionally to, do anything with food, but their parents probably acted a certain way about food, which caused them to act a certain way about food. And again, adding diet culture on top of that. So we all have this kind of blurred perspective on what's actually true about food. And so just recognizing that is so important, and being able to debunk, which I'm not going to go into how to heal a relationship with food. That's a whole other episode that I can get into. But, all of these thoughts, feelings, and emotions impact how we eat. And so that's why, again, it's really hard to just like, quote unquote, eat intuitively when we have all these beliefs about food. But yeah, and there's a million different diets, and I'll just go through a couple that I've done. I've done intermittent fasting. I did Weight Watchers for a while. I was vegan. There's all these different ways that we think we should be eating. And so it's hard to just block all of that out and just eat intuitively from the get-go. Again, like I'm in a place right now where I listen to my body. I eat what I'm craving. Like I said, I ate chocolate cake yesterday because I felt like it. And yeah, I'm not feeling my best, but I'm in a place where I don't feel guilt because of that. I just go back to the way I normally am. And when we're intuitive eating and you have a weight loss goal, it's just hard to see light at the end of the tunnel when we're just intuitive eating. But okay, now, so that's kind of like diet culture. Now I want to talk about listening to your body. Again, this can be tough if you are going on a weight loss journey. But if you are in a good place and you have a good relationship with food, it's important to just notice your hunger and fullness cues. I think so often we get confused because we're like, okay, what am I supposed to listen for? It's really about your hunger and your fullness. So what I like to do is think about a hunger and a fullness scale. Okay, so hunger, you're at 0, you're starving, you're literally going to eat everything in sight, to full, like a 10 on the fullness at the end of the spectrum of like, I'm so full, I'm so stuffed, I'm going to explode. And so we don't ever want to get to 0 or 1 and 10. We want to kind of keep in that middle of like that satisfied. So what I like to do is like literally use that 1 to 10 scale, like to practice. So for example, let's just say you're like, oh, I'm kind of hungry, but I'm about to go out to dinner. I'm at like a 2 or 3. So I'm feeling really, really hungry, even though I know I'm going to go out to dinner and I'm just about to eat food. But here's the caveat is so often we just, in that moment, we're like, okay, no, I'm just not going to eat. I'm going to wait. And so by the time you get to dinner, your hunger is now officially at a 1, where you are ravenous, you are starving. Then guess what? The bread comes out and you're just like going at it because you're so hungry. And so why this tool can be helpful is you're at a 3 on the hunger and fullness scale. You're pretty hungry. Have a protein shake. Have a snack before you go to dinner, because let's be real. If you're being honest with yourself, you're not actually eating for another hour and a half or so. If you're leaving to go to the restaurant, you're talking with your friends, you're sitting down, you're having the appetite. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a while to actually get your food. And so being very realistic with yourself of like, okay, I'm at a 3, but I'm going to have a snack because I don't want to get to a 1 by time dinner comes out. Because then if you're at a 1, you are not going to listen to what your body needs. You're so starving that you're just going to binge. You're going to grab anything that you can to satisfy that hunger, and it's going to take a lot longer to actually get you to that satisfied period. So, I think it's important to determine, again, you kind of create your own scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I'm starving, 10 being like I'm so overly stuffed. And so you can kind of like list out the symptoms from 1 to 10. And then, your satisfaction factor is really like in that middle area, or where you're feeling super satisfied, you're not too full, you're not too hungry. And so setting up where that is, so then you know what you need to do to get to that satisfaction factor. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit, but having that scale and really asking yourself, okay, and even this is how you can practice this. Okay, you are feeling like your tummy rumble a little bit, you're feeling hungry. Okay, ask yourself, where am I on the scale? Okay, I'm like a 4. And maybe you also on that scale are like, okay, at a 4, I know I'm about to get hungry. I'm about to get super hungry. So when I'm at a 4 on the hunger and fullness scale, I'm going to go start making my lunch. Or if you're at an office, maybe you're at a 5. So you're like, okay, when I hit my 4, I'm going to go get my lunch that I have packed. Again, really, it's about working it out together and seeing what works for you. And this is something that, it takes practice over time. You're not going to be perfect at first, but having this scale and using it, so then you're going to use the scale to figure out your hunger. And then when you sit down and you eat, throughout the meal, maybe, finish half your meal and then ask yourself, okay, hunger, fullness, where am I at? What level? Maybe you're at like a 7, and maybe that's the sweet spot. And you're like, okay, wow, I'm actually like feeling full and satisfied. So I'm going to stop eating now. Or maybe 8 is where you're super, super satisfied. So it's really about figuring out where that satisfaction factor is. So then you can stop eating. And there's obviously other caveats to this with what is actually in the food that you're eating. If you're just eating straight up pasta with no protein, you're going to feel full for like 30 minutes and then you're going to be hungry again. You need to have a carb, a protein, a fat, a fiber, and making sure that you are creating satisfied meals at the same time. Because again, the type of food that you eat matters, and the quality of food that you eat matters. But in a sense of listening to your body, using that scale to help you determine when you stop and when you start eating is very, very important. So that's kind of how I like to guide women with intuitive eating, especially from the start. I don't think, it's one of those things where just like eat when you're like, for me, like I said, I was frustrated when people are like, yeah, just intuitively eat when you're hungry, listen to your cravings. And it's like, okay, well, I was in such a negative headspace with food that I was like thinking about food 24/7. And I'm like, I'm just supposed to eat 24/7 because I'm thinking about food. And like, that's what my body's telling me to do. And so I think it's important to, really just build this scale for yourself and use it though, because you could just build the scale and then never use it. It's not going to be very helpful. Okay. You have to actually use a scale. And if it's helpful, write it out for you, put it in your phone, look at it every once in a while, put a sticky note on your computer, whatever it may be. You need to definitely 100% write this out for yourself, or else it's not really going to work either. Set reminders on your phone to look at it, or whatever you have to do to remind yourself of it, okay? Next, we're going to talk about quieting the internal and external voices that dictate what, when, and how much you should eat. Again, like I said, we have so many thoughts, feelings, beliefs, emotions around food, what we think we're supposed to do, and that's why intuitive eating can be tough at the beginning of your journey, because you might think you're eating intuitively, but you're actually eating the way you saw an influencer eat, and she doesn't eat till 10 o'clock because she thinks that her metabolism doesn't start working till 10 o'clock, which that doesn't even make sense. I'm just making this up. But again, we might think, oh, I'm listening to my body, even though you have a hunger cue at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. in the morning, right when you wake up, and you're like, oh no, I'm not supposed to eat this way because I'm supposed to eat at 10. I'm not supposed to start eating until 10, so I'm just going to chug coffee on an empty stomach, wait to eat till 10. And that's not listening to your body. Also, as a side note, I think so many women are afraid of being hungry in the morning, when that's actually a good sign that your metabolism is on point. Your metabolism is on fleek if you are hungry in the morning. And it's so important to not ignore that. You need to listen to your body. Your body's always trying to tell you something. I know I preach about this. I say this a lot, but your body's always trying to tell you something. So listen to her. If she's giving you a hunger cue, she's not saying that to try to deceive you and make you gain weight and, just work against you. Your body's trying to tell you something. So if you're hungry in the morning, that's actually a really good thing. So listen to that. And I'm speaking from my own experience, because I remember when I was first kind of losing weight, I was always hungry in the morning. And I've kind of always had that, growing up, I feel like just from dance, and, I probably eat a decent amount of food throughout high school and stuff because I was dancing so much, but I was always starving in the morning, and I always used to listen to my body. You eat before you go to school at 8 a.m., so you kind of have to. But then there's a period of time where I was like, oh my gosh, I need to not eat, because when I eat in the morning, I'm more hungry the whole day, which is not true. But your body is always giving you hunger cues. It's there for a reason. And I remember in college too, I used to eat as little as possible during the day, so I could, I would be binging on the weekends. And in Chico, my weekends were Thursday to Sunday. So it was a long weekend. Sometimes Tuesdays too. So the days that I wasn't drinking and partying, I felt like I needed to eat as little as possible, because then I would be binging, and I couldn't eat a lot and eat a lot during the week and then also binge on the weekends. But it probably would have worked for me if I would have just ate, and I probably would have binged a lot less if I would have actually just ate a normal amount of food. I remember my friend and client, Kelsey, she was like, oh, I'm going to eat the same as you today. And I made her all the meals that I ate and all the things. And she was like, Ashley, I'm fucking starving. And I just thought that's what you had to do. And so if you're constantly ignoring your hunger and fullness cues, it's never going to work out in the end, because you're going to end up being starving eventually. So listen to your hunger and fullness cues. And also, again, kind of going into that internal and external voices that dictate what, when, and how much you eat. It's important to just kind of go back and think about what your current beliefs are about food, so then you can go back and change them. And that's what I actually work on a lot with my clients, because healing that inner voice, not only with your relationship with food, but relationship with body. But again, we have all these narratives and stories and beliefs about food that dictate how we actually act. And so that's why, again, with intuitive eating, it's hard to listen to your body when you have all these beliefs. So it's important to kind of jot down, okay, do you think carbs make you fat? Do you think you need to wait to eat until 11 a.m.? Do you think you need to stop eating at 6 p.m.? What are these beliefs that are coming up for you? And it's a lot harder to challenge these beliefs when you're just trying to Google stuff on the internet instead of actually learning from someone that has actually gone to school and taken courses and everything and is certified, which, I am. I've learned all the things. And so it's a lot easier to challenge these beliefs when you have someone telling you what is actually true and what is not. But you can still do it on your own, especially listening to podcasts. One, I'm just going to debunk this right now. Carbs don't make you fat. Fat doesn't make you fat. Eating too many calories makes you gain weight. So it's not about, and there's healthy fats, there's healthy carbs. So it's really about finding that balance. But again, like, you have thoughts, feelings, and emotions about food that are hindering you from intuitively eating and listening to your body. So now that we've kind of talked about the journey into intuitive eating, let's talk about the actual practice. And I know listening to your body is a practice, but a couple mindful eating techniques I just kind of want to go over is, one, slowing down. Yes. And I know it's really hard to slow down eating when you're like scrolling on TikTok and watching TV. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I don't watch TV and eat my food, or I'm not on TikTok while I eat my food. But again, I'm at a different place in my journey. If you're truly, truly struggling, this is something that you should prioritize. If you're trying to work and eat, I get it. Some people don't have the luxury of like taking a lunch break or whatever it may be, but maybe consciously making the decision to slow down. Put your fork down after every single bite if you need to, but you need to slow down to be able to listen to your hunger and fullness cues. And again, you're not going to be able to listen to your hunger and fullness cues at the beginning when you are distracted by something else, whether that is working, whether that is watching TV. You need to make a conscious effort to slow down and listen to your body. And you're not going to do that if you're distracted. So really slowing down is one of them. And again, number 2 is making sure you're not eating with distraction. And again, this is not a forever thing. This is a for now thing until you get to a good place. Sometimes you got to put that work on the front end. And like I said, I do eat dinner every night and watch TV, but like, I'm at this place right now where I'm good with my body. I'm in this intuitive eating phase, and that is the last phase of your journey. It's not the beginning phase of your journey. And I'm not saying you can't start and try and see how it works for you. That's fine. But like, you need to be able to prioritize this, because I know how it feels when you're feeling like shit about your body and you're overeating. Like I said, I've been overeating and not listening to my hunger and fullness cues for the last month, and I don't feel good. And so reminding yourself that, yeah, you got to put a little bit of work in on the front end, but you're going to feel so good once you do. Okay. So those are a couple of mindful eating techniques. Again, very simple. Another thing, just being grateful for your food. Okay, this is something, and just being like, make eating a positive experience, not, oh my God, you're making me fat, I fucking hate you, food. Like, food is fuel, okay? We need food to survive. But I don't know if it was like on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, but I saw this like, and I'm not even remembering exactly what it is correctly. I have this image in my head, and I don't know if it was like plants in a jar. There were 2 separate ones, and there's a sticky note on it that said like saying positive affirmations to this one. They were the same plant. Speaking negatively to this other jar that had a plant in it. The plant that he talked positively to was thriving. It was beautiful. It was gorgeous. It looked amazing. And then the plant that he talked to on the right had mold growing. And I was like, it kind of was like a good reminder for myself, because side note a little bit, where I have just been super hard on myself about my acne. And I made a conscious decision after I saw that post to be like, okay, I am not going to be so negative about my face and my acne. I'm going to talk positively. And I shit you not, my face started to clear up. I forgot how powerful words are, especially, I'm really good about being positive about my body, but my acne is something that I've really struggled with being positive about. And seeing that was a good reminder to be like, okay, I need to be positive towards the thing that I want to improve. It's a great reminder for your body, but also the food that you're eating. If you are like, you're making me fat, like I hate you, oh my God, this is so stressful, or this is so gross, oh my gosh, like just constant negativity about the food, you're not going to be able to eat it in a way that's going to feel good to you. It's going to feel miserable. It's might even, obviously food. I'm a little bit woo-woo when it comes to reaching your body as well as the science stuff. But, you your body is not going to react well to the food if you're just constantly hating and constantly being negative about it. You gotta be positive and be grateful for your food. So that's just another little side tangent of like being grateful for your food and like looking at your food and be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for fueling my body. Thank you for nourishing my body. From that perspective, you're going to feel so much better. Also, another note too is I had a client who she told me that every time she eats red meat, her stomach hurts, she doesn't feel good. And I asked her thoughts on, red meat and like what her beliefs are about it. And she's like, I don't know. Well, yeah, it makes me feel like shit. I also feel like it's not that good for you and I shouldn't eat that much of it. I was like, there it is. We can convince ourselves of anything. And if we are like, oh, red meat isn't good for me, it's not going to make me feel good. The red meat isn't going to be good for you and it's not going to make you feel good. I shit you not. I told her how you feel about your food is more important than the food you're eating. And she went into it the next time she ate red meat and she was like, oh my God, Ashley, it didn't hurt my stomach. I ate red meat last night and I felt so amazing. And I was like, see, your mind is so powerful. And so if you can tell yourself that you love it and it's nourishing and it's going to make you feel good, and, this is all within reason. You can't eat chocolate cake and be like, oh my God, this is going to make it feel so good. You know what I mean? Like, it's all within reason. But I think your mind is so powerful, and how you talk about food and how you look at food is actually going to make a big impact physically on how you feel about the food, how the food feels going down. So those are kind of like some mindful eating techniques and practices. Now, kind of, again, talking about that satisfaction factor. It comes down to eating balanced meals. Again, you're not going to be satisfied from eating a piece of toast and jelly. Like that's just a whole bunch of carbs, a bunch of sugar. That's not going to make you feel very good. So there is this piece of making actually satisfying meals. So having a carb, a protein, a fat, and a fiber. And that's really, really easy to do. And actually a fat and a protein together is literally the most satisfying type of meal you can make for yourself. But I think so often we're hard on ourselves when we're like, oh, I just had a smoothie and it had no protein in it or something like that. And you're like, oh, I'm hungry an hour later. And it's like, yeah, no wonder you're hungry an hour later, because you didn't actually build a satisfying meal of having a carb, a protein, fat, and fiber. So it's really, really important to make, one, the meal actually satisfying, but then two, figuring out what your satisfaction factor is. And that goes back to creating that hunger and fullness scale and figuring out where your satisfaction factor is. Maybe your satisfaction is at a 7. So then you know that when you go down to sit to eat and you're like, okay, you started at a 4, you were hungry, and you got yourself up to the 7. Because again, an 8 or 9 or a 10, maybe you're stuffed, or maybe your satisfaction is at the 8. Whatever it is, but it's important that you find your satisfaction factor, so then you can figure out where that happy spot is of feeling good, feeling full, feeling satisfied, but not overly full or satisfied, and not feeling like, oh, I'm so hungry, I need more. And again, that takes practice, but I think the best way to actually figure that out is to create that scale and practice. Okay, I'm going to eat till I'm a 6. Do I feel satisfied? No. Okay, I'm going to eat till I'm a 7. Cool, I feel satisfied. That's my satisfaction factor. Again, it's going to take trial and error. You're not going to be able to just do this in one try, but if you can actually put this hunger and fullness scale into practice as well as the satisfaction factor. So again, as an overview, what that scale is going to look like is 1 to 10, 1 being like you're starving, you're going to eat everything in the whole entire house. 10 is you're so full, you feel like you're going to explode, you can't even get up and go for a walk. And so at the 1 side of the scale, you're going to literally fill out all the symptoms. So, you're starving, you have no energy, you're ravenous, all of the things. And then at the 10, you're going to list out what the symptoms are. So you're so full, you can't go for a walk, you're so bloated, you're going to explode, feeling guilty about the food, whatever it may be. But you're also going to fill in 2 through 9, whatever the symptoms are. So maybe like a 2 is you're starving and you're still like getting to that point of being ravenous. And then you're going to go to what a 3 is. And again, filling out all those symptoms. And then what you're also going to do is find the satisfaction factor. That's going to be either probably anywhere between a 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8. Again, you make it what you want. But But being able to figure out where that satisfaction factor is going to help you not overeat, because you're going to be like, oh, okay, I'm at a 7 right now. I know if I eat more food, I'm going to be super, super full, and I'm going to get myself to an 8, and I don't really like how I feel when I'm at an 8. And so finding that place and, respecting your body. Again, your body's trying to tell you something always. And if you can respect that you are at this place of I'm full, I'm good, I'm satisfied, you're going to feel so amazing and so empowered. But it just, again, takes that practice, okay? I just had to chug the rest of my coffee because it's 11:20 and I don't like to eat. I don't like to drink coffee past typically 11, but I was just in the moment and I didn't want to lose it. So, okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about emotional eating. Again, we're not going to dive too deep into this because I think this in itself could be a whole podcast episode. But the biggest thing with emotional eating is figuring out your trigger, because we all have a trigger and a reason why we emotionally eat. And what's really interesting is when I was in therapy, when I was having a really bad relationship with food, I really truly thought, I was like, no, I'm just eating because I love food. I never thought it was an emotional thing. I was like, no, I'm hungry and I love food. I love the taste of food. But it always came down to an emotional reason, and there was always a trigger. Maybe, I think a lot of times for me, it was a bored thing. When I was home alone, this was during I was single, I was living at home, I was dancing a lot. So 1, I was just under eating in general. But 2, I was alone a lot. And I think that I filled that void with eating when I was bored. And so I think it's important to figure out what your trigger is. Is it stress? Is it when you're bored? Is it when you're alone? Is it when you're angry? What is that emotional trigger for you? And it doesn't necessarily need to be when I'm alone, like a physical thing. It could just be some type of emotion. So maybe your boss gets upset with you and you are oh, I just want to veg out and snack and distract myself and watch TV. Whatever it may be, finding that trigger is the most important thing you can do, because this is what I always tell my clients. It's not that you need to be okay, I'm just not going to eat. No, because in a sense that is helping you cope. But what we want to do is attach your trigger to coping in a healthy way. And so what we do is, okay, trigger happens, then we're okay, we need something to soothe us. A lot of times we go to food, but I want to challenge you to do one thing before you go to food, because I think if we're just no, just don't eat the food, you're thinking about the food the whole time. So it's okay, what's one thing I can do before I eat the food so I can go and feel good first? And maybe that will take care of it, or maybe not. So, maybe it's going for a walk and listening to a podcast. Maybe it's doing 10 jumping jacks, physically doing something. Because if we just try to distract ourselves and okay, just don't think about food, you're thinking about food the whole time. So I have found that doing something physical helps, but maybe that's taking a bath. Maybe it's reading a book for you, whatever it is, but it's not going and watching TV. It's not scrolling on TikTok. Because again, those are also coping mechanisms that are not as beneficial as being able to, because you're just suppressing your emotions at that time. And that's not what we're doing. We are not finding a coping mechanism that pushes it down. We want to be able to feel the emotion and move through it. So maybe it is doing a brain dump. Maybe it is doing jumping jacks. Maybe it is doing a workout. Maybe it is going for a walk. Whatever it is, I want you to do one thing. And if you are still I need this food right now, I want you to go and allow yourself to eat the food. Because if we're having that restricted mindset of I'm not allowed to have it, that's just putting your relationship with food in a deeper hole. And we also don't want to do that. So this is a great way to be able to acknowledge how you're feeling, finding that trigger, finding a healthy coping mechanism, and then again, still allowing yourself to have that food or whatever it is if you need it. And I have found if you can practice this over time, you start to connect that neural pathway of I'm stressed. Okay, I'm going to go for a walk to feel better and think about it. Or I'm stressed. I'm going to do a little journal entry to brain dump to make myself feel better. So it's really about finding the trigger and being able to cope with it. And the reason this is important is because with intuitive eating, again, if you're just like, okay, I'm just going to intuitively eat what I want, you're going to be stressed, you're going to binge, and then you're going to feel guilty. And it's going to be this whole cycle. So it's really important to be able to handle the emotional eating side of things and be able to heal your relationship with food so that you can intuitive eat. Again, intuitive eating is the end goal. And I think with all these things considered, it's hard to intuitive eat when we kind of have all these like thoughts, feelings, emotions about food, and using this food in as a comfort. Okay. So, I know we've kind of talked a lot about kind of why it's not necessarily the best to intuitive eat for weight loss. But I'm just going to kind of dive a little bit deeper into it and what you can kind of do instead. So kind of like I said, you don't trust your body after years of dieting. And so it's really hard to listen and trust your body to lose weight when you have an end goal. You're trying to intuitive eat, but again, it's kind of the vision is blurred of listening to and tuning into your own body when you just don't trust it after a while. So if you have a body goal, I don't think intuitive eating is good to start. It is the end goal. Also, too, you need to have a basic understanding of nutrition when you are trying to lose weight. And intuitive eating is just kind of not having that basic understanding. It's just eating what you want, when you're craving it. And just because you are not intuitive eating to lose weight doesn't mean you need to like go full-blown fitness macro tracking robot. It's not that either. There's this balance. And that's the approach I take with my clients is you're not going to turn into this fitness robot that's macro tracking and not listening to their body, but there's ways that you can do it. And sometimes, I do have clients that macro track, and sometimes they only do it a couple days a week. Sometimes we do it as a check-in. Sometimes we do it, consistently. It depends on you and where you're at in your journey. And so I want to just talk to you a little bit about like structured intuitive eating, which is another approach that I take. And this is about using principles of intuitive eating, but doing it in a structured way. So you have some goals to set in terms of like portion sizing, when you should eat, making sure you're having enough protein, making sure you're having enough carbs, making sure you're having enough servings of veggies, but you're doing it in a way that you're listening to your body. So you get that intuitive eating practice. It's almost this middle ground of like complete macro tracking to intuitive eating. It's this middle ground of like, okay, how can I start to learn to listen to my body, but also doing it in a structured way so I'm not just like relying on my bodily cravings and just eating what I want when I want. Because again, if you have a body goal, you can't just eat whatever you want whenever you want and just, hoping that you're going to lose weight. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. You need some structure, you need some discipline, and I do it in a way that's kind of like, just to give you an overview, it's like, cool. First, let's work on relationship with food and quality of food, because you can't really get anywhere without that. Then maybe we move into macro tracking if you want to. Maybe we just track protein. Maybe we, do a combo of, intuitive eating a couple days a week, but macro tracking a couple days a week, just so you can kind of see where you're at and we can set a goal for you. Once you are at your body goal and you feel good about the food you're eating, the amount you're eating, the quantity, the quality, that's when we move into complete intuitive eating, because you need to have a good foundation before you can intuitively eat. And truthfully, I wish I had a coach. I wish I would have had myself to hire back in the day, because I had to take so much trial and error. And I tried intuitive eating. That's what I thought I had to do. But I intuitively was like, oh, in order to be skinny, I need to eat less and I need to be vegan. And so again, I had all this clouded judgment of what I thought I needed to do. And so it hindered me. It took me so long to get to a place where I am obsessed with my body, eating in a way that feels super, super good to me, eating my protein, drinking my water, eating chocolate cake when I want to without feeling guilty about it. And so it's really, really important to set the foundations first before getting into intuitive eating. Setting the foundations, getting your body to a place that you absolutely are obsessed with, and then we go into intuitive eating. Okay, I know that was a lot, and we kind of talked a lot about like how to intuitively eat, but also listening to your body, but also finding your satisfaction factor, but also, you know, that is the end goal, not necessarily the road to having your dream body. Again, with my Elevate one-to-one coaching program, I give you the structure. I give you your exact roadmap. I know it's not something that is super intuitive, no pun intended. It's not something that's very, just, okay, I got this. I'll just go ahead and do it. There is structure that needs to happen to get you to your body goals. Okay. And so if you're interested in one-to-one coaching and you want to work directly with me, where we will build an exact roadmap, an exact plan to get you to your goal, DM me on Instagram. You can literally, I know that this is a very vulnerable journey, and that's why I always like to talk about my journey, because I've been through it. I'm not just someone that doesn't understand how you feel. I've been overweight. I've felt uncomfortable in my own body. I've been shy, quiet, not confident. I've had a horrible relationship with food. And I'm on the other side of that, where I am confident not only in myself, in my food choices. I get to enjoy balance. I get to have chocolate cake when I want. I go to the movies and eat popcorn without feeling guilty. I'm eating balance. I'm feeling good. I'm fueling my body. I'm nourishing my body. I'm looking at food as fuel. And food isn't on my mind 24/7. I just eat when I'm hungry and I stop when I'm full. And I know that sounds probably too good to be true with maybe where you're at right now, but I promise you can get to the other side. It took me a long time because I didn't have the guidance, and I want to guide you. I want to help you because you deserve to feel fucking beautiful and confident and magnetic, because you are that person and it's inside of you. We just got to pull it out of you. We got to get you to that place where you're feeling fucking amazing, because you are amazing. Okay? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I absolutely loved talking about this because I think it's not intuitive, and intuitive eating is not as intuitive as you may think. Maybe that's what I should name it. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please follow me on Instagram at Ashley Robutz, ASHLEYROBUTZ. And please, please, please rate and review the podcast. It would mean the fucking world to me. Seriously. I love making these podcast episodes, so if you could share it with a friend or share it on your story, or if you rate and review it, send a screenshot, DM me on Instagram, and I'll put you in the running to win a free one-to-one transformation session with me, where we can build a roadmap, we can do hypnosis, we can do identity work, we can do whatever you need. I am really good at what I do, so step into my world, my love, okay? I love you and I'm proud of you, and by you being here and listening to this podcast episode, you are one step closer to being this leveled up, amazing, truly, truly confident version of yourself. So I'm so fucking proud of you. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll catch you on the next one.